So today, we're going to talk about something that is the absolute bedrock of any successful project: scope. It's what defines the boundaries of what you're actually going to do. And honestly, getting it right is often what separates a huge win from, well, a project that just completely misses the mark. I want you to think about a project you've worked on. Was it kind of like building a house? Where you had this super detailed blueprint right from day one? Every wall, every window, every single nail was planned out before anyone even picked up a hammer? You knew exactly where you were going. Or was it more like you were exploring a new continent? You had a general direction, a star to follow, but the actual map? You were pretty much drawing that thing as you went. You learned from the terrain, you adapted when you found a mountain in your way, and you let the journey itself shape your final destination. Here's the thing. In the world of project management, both of these journeys are totally valid. In fact, they're both essential. But success, no matter which path you're on, pivots on one single critical idea: understanding and managing the project's scope. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The official guide for project managers, the PMBOK guide, really nails it. As you can see here, scope isn't just some boring to-do list. It's what ties all the hard work directly to the value you deliver. It's the thing that makes sure all that effort actually matters. Okay, so let's really dig into this. To get a handle on scope, we're going to explore these two completely different worlds, each with its own mindset. We're going to call them the world of the architect and the world of the explorer. First up, the architect. In this world, everything is built on a predictive plan. The entire goal is to define everything up front in painstaking detail, because here, the blueprint is everything. Now, the architect's most sacred document, their holy grail, really, is the scope baseline. This is the master plan. It's the approved, locked-in, official version of what the project is going to deliver. And you can't just change it on a whim, oh no. Any little tweak has to go through a formal process. This document is the single source of truth, period. So how does an architect even build this baseline? They use a tool called the Work Breakdown Structure, or WBS for short. This is where you take a massive, intimidating project and you just deconstruct it. You break it down layer by layer into smaller and smaller pieces until you get down to individual tasks. It is the ultimate detailed blueprint. Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and jump into the explorer's world. This is an adaptive journey. In this universe, you start by admitting something really important. You don't know everything at the beginning, and that's okay. The goal isn't to follow a rigid plan, it's to discover the best path as you go. The explorer's primary tool is the product backlog. And this is not some fixed, set-in-stone document. It's a living, breathing, dynamic list of potential features and jobs to be done. Think of it like a treasure map with a bunch of possible X's marking the spot. The team is constantly looking at that map, getting new information, and deciding which X is the most valuable to go after right now. So how does an explorer know when they've successfully charted a piece of that map? They use something called a definition of done. This is basically a simple shared checklist. It's the team's agreement on what it means for a piece of work to be truly complete and ready to go. It ensures quality and keeps everyone on the same page every step of the way. When you put these two side by side, the difference in philosophy just jumps right out at you, doesn't it? The architect's WBS is a fixed plan, where change is a really big deal and has to be formally controlled. The explorer's backlog, on the other hand, is a dynamic list where change isn't just tolerated, it's actually welcomed because it helps you find the most value. So we've got these two totally different mindsets and tools. But, and this is the really cool part, beneath the surface, both the architect and the explorer are relying on the exact same fundamental framework. There's a universal toolkit that applies to any project journey. And here it is, that universal toolkit. These 6 core processes guide every single project. You always start by planning how you'll manage scope. Then you elicit and analyze requirements from everybody involved. Next, you define the scope, drawing that line in the sand of what's in and what's out. Then you develop that scope structure, whether it's a WBS or a backlog. Once the work starts, you have to constantly monitor and control it. And finally, you validate the scope with stakeholders to make sure you actually delivered what you promised. Every project goes through these phases. So after all that work, how do you know if you were actually successful? It's not just about finishing on time. The real question, the one that matters most, is did we deliver value? This table gives us some hints on how to measure that. We have to ask the big questions. Are stakeholders actually happy? You find out by talking to them, getting feedback. Is the project still aligned with the big business goals? You check that against the original business case. And for requirements? For an architect, success means the plan had very few changes. For an explorer, it means the goals for each little part of the journey were crystal clear. For those architect-style projects, we can even put some numbers on this. A key metric is scope creep. That's just a fancy term for how much unplanned work got piled on after you started. This formula basically helps you track the percentage of work that was never in the original blueprint. A high number here can be a serious red flag. And here's another one for the architects: requirement stability. This is pretty simple. It just tracks what percentage of the original requirements made it all the way to the finish line without being changed or cut. In a predictive project, a high stability percentage is a fantastic sign that your plan was rock solid from the start. So what's the ultimate takeaway here? It's this. It doesn't matter if your project needs a detailed blueprint, like an architect, or a flexible compass, like an explorer. The fundamental purpose of managing scope, all those processes, all those tools, is always the same: to deliver real, meaningful value. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. A question for you. As you look at your next project, which role does it demand you play? Are you the architect, planning every single detail in advance? Or are you the explorer, navigating uncertainty to discover the best possible outcome? The right choice? Well, that's your first step towards success.